Transparency in a family builds trust, but sharing information while gaming online can set you up for unnecessary risks. Your children may be sharing details that can impact not just them, but you. Today's guest is Eric Jones. Eric is an experienced product manager and developer with over 20 years experience and more than 9 years in Agile Software Development. He is the founder and creator of All Knowing Parent, focused on educating people on all avenues of technology and hardware. I'm your host, Chris Parker, and this is the Easy Pray Podcast. Eric, thank you so much for coming on the Easy Pray Podcast today.
Hey, Chris, I'm excited to be here. I can't even get my words out right.
I'm always excited to be here. So give the audience a little background about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I'm a father of 2 young girls. I have an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. Beautiful wife. And by day, I work for a consulting company here in the Atlanta area and spend my day helping solve problems for major organizations. And by night, I have a little startup called allknowingparent.com where I basically am trying to help people with their technology problems. You know, kind of every business has an IT shop. I'm trying to give families and parents their own IT shop, as it would be.
That is definitely something that is severely lacking, that most home users have a modem or a router that's, that they got from their ISP when they put the connection in 15 years ago.
And most of those people don't realize that their ISP has set that router up to automatically broadcast, where they're at and to offer their free Wi-Fi to everybody driving by as well. I mean, it is definitely a place where I think everybody needs it, but not everybody knows they need it, and I just want to be that person. Like, I don't have all the answers, but what I do have is the time and the passion to research those answers. And I think that's really what I bring to the table and everything. And it goes beyond just routers and modems. I mean, it goes into, gaming consoles and gamers and what their kids are doing on their iPads and, just all of that kind of technology stuff can become so overwhelming so quickly.
Yeah, and a lot of parents, if they're not tech savvy, they don't know what their kids do and don't have access to. And it's kind of a scary thought what they might have access to.
Oh yeah. I mean, and as like I said, as a father of an 8 and 9-year-old, every night I spend time on my daughter's iPad. What did she text? Who is she texting? What is happening? I play a game or I do an app before she does it, so that way I can know what it is. I know when she becomes a teenager, she's going to be like, Dad, really? Are you going to be that guy? You're that dad? Yes, I'm that dad. I'm the one friending all your friends because I want to see what they're posting.
So are you one that a firm believer in telling kids I don't want to say snooping, that you're watching what they're doing, or do you want to watch what they're doing without them knowing about it?
So again, I work in the IT industry as a full-time job. I'm a professional consultant, and that's what I hate is when I get a corporate laptop and they've got all the spyware on there, the tattletale software, it tells them how long I was on, what apps was I using. My kids know that. I mean, I'm very upfront with them, and they know that, hey, on our iPad, we have parental controls in place. We have limits on different applications on their iPad. So if they want more time, they have to ask mom and dad. They've got to hit that little request for more time button and everything. They know that I can get on and see their text messages whenever I want. I know their PIN codes. They unfortunately have guessed our PIN codes, so we keep changing them. But, that's a different battle and everything. But no, I'm a big believer in transparency. I don't think you can build trust, and I don't think you can really build a solid relationship if you're snooping on them. I mean, you don't want your boss snooping on you and saying, oh, you've been on email for 4 hours today. Oh, and you were on Facebook for 3 hours. What's up with that? No. Like, let's just have a conversation about what's going on and everything. So big believer in transparency.
That's awesome. So you talked about gaming. So in my mind, I think I think of kind of 2 categories of gaming. You've got the people that they're sitting down in the basement, they're on a console, they're on a desktop, and they're playing, like, as we're both looking around, they're playing for, 4, 5, 6 hours a night. And then there's the casual gaming where it's Words with Friends or Candy Crush or things like that. Let's talk. What do you classify that higher end gaming? What do we call that?
I mean, you have your diehard gamers. You have your people that are just they just have a love for it. It's a sport to them, and that's I do use that word because we do see that as a growing thing. Esports is becoming a thing. I mean, here in Forsyth County, Georgia, we're in one of the most northern counties. We have an esports league, for our kids. So my 9-year-old daughter can go out and join an esport league and play professionally, as it would be for the county, and go through all the realms that it would be. So I think we're really seeing a blurring of the lines. Like, there is no such thing as a casual gamer anymore. Like, you call somebody a casual gamer, that just means that they have it on their phone and they pick up, Maniac Mansion or Candy Crush or something and play it every so often. But I'm a dad of 2. I don't get a lot of time for gaming. I love it. I'm a casual gamer. I play every Tuesday night with my friends for a couple of hours. That would be casual. And then, like you said, there are people that will literally sit down at their basement and they'll play for 6 to 8 hours. And whether or not that's healthy or not, that's completely up to that person. It's completely up to that parent. I don't judge it at all. I mean, there are kids that want to become YouTube famous. My 9-year-old daughter, she constantly wants to record, constantly wants to create YouTube videos and stuff like that. And as a parent, it's something that we have to be very mindful of and judicious about what we allow and what we go down to and everything based on, what I believe as a parent, which may be completely different than what you believe or some other listener.
But it's good to know what the options are. So let's talk about what are some of the risks of that are faced by people that are, we'll call them the pro gamers, whether they're actually making money or not, but they're investing time, resources, and money into it, and then we'll come back and talk about more of the casual gaming on the phones, on the iPads, and things like that. They're just kind of picking it up while you're at the bus stop waiting, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like if you go with the more in-depth, intensive games. So you're talking about someone's got a console, a Xbox, a PlayStation, a Switch, any one of those kind of systems where they're playing online with other people. They're basically in a community. They have on all of those apps, there is some form of communication. So it can be as simple as a text communication, like a chat bot that they have in game, or they could have chatting outside of the game. They have Discord servers that are completely set up that allow kids to be able to talk about their favorite games while they're playing the game, even if that game has no chatability in it. Mm-hmm. So not just text, but you have voice. A lot of games have a lot of voice, controls on them, and a lot of ability to play with other players and have a headset and talk to each other as you're playing. Me and my friends, we like to play like Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It's an online shooter, first-person shooter game, and in it has the ability to be able to chat. There's no way we could play that game through text. It's too fast-paced. It's too much going on. We talked earlier about Counter-Strike. It's the same thing then. You had servers that were set up. That's what Discord is huge on, is setting up those servers that allow people to chat and text back and forth. So anytime that you have that community of people, you invite people you don't want. I mean, we just face it. We go to the grocery store and someone steals our parking spot. We don't like that person anymore, as it would be. Same thing can happen in gaming. You get into these massively multi-online playing games, what they call MMO RPGs. And that is literally anybody in the world can join. So that's different than what my friends do on Tuesday nights. So on Tuesday nights, we have to be invited. So we have to actually say, hey, I want this person to come play with me. So we have to be invited to each other's group. Mm-hmm. Or I friend them, which we'll come back to that in a second. And as a friend, they can automatically join me if I'm playing, in a lot of these really big worlds like Roblox, a lot of the server games like Minecraft, Marvel League of Legends. I could just go on and on. Halo Infinite just came out, all of these games that allow for online community play. You're always going to also get somebody else that you may not know. And if you're my 9-year-old daughter, everybody you play with is your friend. So you want to friend everybody on there. But you have to recognize that as soon as you make someone a friend, it's giving them access to you. It's like handing out your email address. And we don't share our email address with everybody because we know that some people are going to spam us. And that can happen on the gaming systems as well. People can say unsavory things. Lots of games like Roblox has done a really good job of putting in some hashing of bad words or hashing of words that it may be worrisome, but that still doesn't stop it. People find their ways around it. I mean, the emoji craze right now, I mean, you can do so much with an emoji and everything like that. There's actions that you can do. So it's a scary world, to be honest with you, and that's why, with me and my daughters, it's a constant conversation, like every day, all the times. And I know when I've done something well, when my daughter is teaching my principles to her friends.
That's good.
That's a victory for me right there.
That's a huge win. That's sitting in the next room going, yeah, that was good.
Exactly. That's an imaginary high five to your best friend right there.
So is it teaching your daughters about like who you friend, who you're willing to connect with? Are you telling her if you don't know them, don't connect with them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it even starts before they get on the game system, before they even get on the game. So like my daughter asked for Roblox for like months, and I wouldn't let her have it because, one, I wanted to get on the game first and just kind of see what it was and how it worked, what kind of the controls were, really how good it felt to me and everything. But then it was a conversation with her ahead of time, like, hey, this game allows you to have friends, Now, it's not like the Switch where you've got to get somebody's number and you've got to type it in. And they make it a little harder. It's like literally you see someone in the game and you just click friend. I mean, go down the list and you can literally friend 100 people in 30 seconds.
Wow.
And everybody that you've played with can show up, and you can have it auto friend people that you've played with, as it would be. And you get in some of these games, like my kids like Feather Friends, or they like some other one where they're these cats doing some RPG. I don't understand it, but there's like 50 people in this one little server room. And if they were to friend everybody, every time they got on there, that would exponentially explode. So it's just letting them know, like, hey, it's great to play with people online, and it's great to be respectful and to have fun with them and to do what you do. That doesn't mean that they're your friend. Just like when we go to the playground, you may see a little boy or girl there that you play with, and you guys may have a great time. That doesn't mean, though, that you're a friend. It means that you had fun with them at that time.
Yeah.
And our rule in our house is simple. If we don't know them, we don't friend them. So unless you physically have met them or you physically know them, then we can't friend them, which she's always excited when she comes back from a camp or something like that. Oh, I know so-and-so now, and I'm going to friend them on Roblox and everything like that. We give a little grace there for her on that. But yeah, it's setting those rules ahead of time, because then you don't have to have the uncomfortable conversation later. And I think that's really the key thing, because cleaning up a mess is a whole lot harder than preventing a mess.
Yeah. And I assume the key thing is trying to make sure they're not connecting with, or at least for your children, that they're not connecting with predatory adults.
Oh,
on
100%.
Platforms.
Well, I wouldn't even say predatory adults. I would just say predatory people.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, it's not just adults anymore. It's not just some creepy guy in the basement or something like that. I mean, it can be just about anybody. And their predatory ways can be in a wide range of reasonings. It could be, hey, I'm going to get to know this kid because I want to actually learn more about their parents, because it's really the parents that I'm after. People don't realize that. Kids give out information so easily.
Way too easily.
Way too easily. It's 4 and they're telling you, hey, my mom is this or my dad is that, or, those kind of things. But when they get older, you need to kind of push back and not let them give out so much information and everything. And we've had some slip ups. I mean, no kid's perfect. I mean, they're going to make mistakes, but it's just recognizing it and catching it right away. Hey, you shouldn't be telling somebody that you're a YouTuber, because if their first response is like, oh yeah, I've seen you on YouTube. Well, what kid wouldn't get excited about that? Yeah. I mean, they're trying to be the next Preston or Sunday or some other big YouTuber out there. So to hear that someone that they don't know knows who they are, right then and there, that's a red flag to my little daughter. And she's learned that. I've taught her that, hey, if someone says that they know you on YouTube, they probably don't. You've got 7 followers, baby girl. I'm sorry. They're not one of those people. And she's like, hey, Daddy, I caught a scammer today, and I totally reported them and all this. I'm like going, yeah.
So what are the don'ts? We have don't connect with friends. You're saying like don't share personal information. What particular information should we be particularly concerned about sharing on games?
I mean, everything. Yeah, I mean, really, the best word is start with everything. Again, being an IT guy, when you set up a new firewall, what's the first thing you do? You close all the ports. You shut everything down, and then you open up what you need. Oh, you need to send emails. Okay, I'm going to open up those email ports. You're going to browse the web. I'm going to open up those browse ports. It's the same thing I tell my kids when they go to do their stuff. Like, we shut down everything. We don't tell them anything. You don't tell them your name. You don't tell them your favorite color. You don't tell them you have cats. You know, I'm giving away more information on this podcast than my kids do online and everything. And again, it's all about making sure that they can't find that little thing that allows them to create that relationship. Mm-hmm. And that's really important, is like, could someone create a relationship knowing that your daughter or son loves football, loves dance, loves the Braves? At first you go, well, who cares if they know he likes the Braves? Everybody in Atlanta loves the Braves, you know? It's a Georgia thing, or whoever your favorite team is and everything. But the fact is that we want to teach them that information is sacred, because as they get older, that's the same kind of information that a scammer may call you up on the phone and say, hey, we're just validating some records and we just want to double check, you know, did you still used to live on this road? And, you know, they go through all those social engineering questions and stuff like that. So that's all I'm doing, is trying to prevent my kids from being socially engineered at a young age. Yeah. So we basically tell them, you know, don't tell them anything. Like, they shouldn't be asking questions about your personal life, you know, and if they are, then that's a sign of maybe you need to move on and play with somebody else, as it would be. But I mean, if we had to come up with like a list of like, hey, what are really important things? Like, definitely don't ever give out your name. Don't tell them. You can tell them what country you live in, but don't tell them what state, city. Definitely not the city. I mean, anything that would narrow it down. But no name, no country. I mean, no state, no personal address stuff. If your kids know phone numbers, definitely no phone numbers. I mean, that's for sure. Don't let them give out their emails. Don't let them give out their gamer handles. You know, that's another thing that kids will do, is they'll be on the iPad playing Roblox and they'll give out their Switch gamer handle or their Microsoft gamer handle. And it's really easy to friend somebody in Xbox and immediately see when they come online. I mean, you don't have to approve that friendship, as it would be. It's just they're following you. They know what's happening and everything. So you can lock down your profile to prevent that from showing. But on default, all that kind of stuff is out there. So yeah, not showing out your gamer handle is really cool. And then anything that's personal, you know, like you have a sister, don't tell them anything about your family. Don't give mother and dad's names, you know, things like that, you know. It's getting to a point where we have to be really careful also, because we don't know who on the other line, what their belief system is. Yeah. We don't know what they feel like is right or wrong, you know? So if your family is not what we would call a nuclear family or a traditional family of a mother and a father, and you go out and tell somebody how your family is set up, that person on the other line may not be that way, and they may not like it. And then that could cause that poor kid to have questions or comments thrown at him that he just doesn't, or he doesn't need to have and everything.
Yeah. And are the platforms getting better about preventing like IP addresses from being exposed? My audience knows about IP addresses, but are the platforms getting better about preventing IP addresses from being shown, making it easier to block people?
I mean, I think on the consoles you get a little bit better because it's a little bit harder. But if you're on like an iPad or PC or something that connects to a centralized server, I mean, you got to remember you're connecting to that server. Yeah. Your IP is logged. It's really hard to game through a VPN. I mean, you can do it, you can set it up, but for the most part, people don't. They, in fact, you know, if you look at most of your like hardware that's gamer focused, really what they're doing when they make it game focused is they're taking away a lot of their security precautions in order to open up those pipes as fat as they can to allow those bits to fly through. Yeah. So you do have to be concerned about that stuff. You do have to watch out, you know, what is my system giving away? Now, the gaming companies and the gaming systems are getting better at it, but there's still so much pressure put on the individual user. Yeah. You know, I mean, most games you've got to be 13 or older to play. Well, I've just admitted I have an 8 and a 9-year-old playing all these games. So that means that they've got parental permission. Now, something like Roblox is great because if you set it up as a young kid, it goes out and emails your parent and says, hey, so-and-so is trying to get it in. Now, that's if your kid's honest. Yeah. I know people whose kids sign up as 13-year-old boys or girls or 35-year-old men. 10-year-olds signing up as 35-year-old men because they want to get past all those restrictions
Yeah.
that are put in place at their age and everything. And again, it's no fault to the gaming companies because that's really hard for them to track. I mean, how do they know unless they go through a full-on, Equifax credit report check? Did you live at this address? Have you ever owned this credit card? That kind of thing. They're never going to be able to do that. So there is a lot of just understanding the risk that you're doing. I mean, I think it was one of your earlier podcasts about the Internet of Things lady that came on. I can't remember her name right now. Fabulous podcast, by the way.
Thank you.
And again, everything you plug in, it's got an IP address all of a sudden. I've got a smart washer, that's online. All that data is going out to LG. I have no idea about the firmware. I admit I'm one of those people that's probably not as good with my Internet of Things as I need to be, but I'm pretty judicious about keeping those things up to date and securing my firewalls and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, too much of it is still on the consumer, in my opinion. And there needs to be a lot more that's put out there, especially from an age verification standpoint. I think there's things that they could do to better control some of that.
Yeah. So for older gamers, people in their, that are over 18, that are adults, that are on the more pro level of things, let's say. It's not the casual gaming. I mean, I used to hear about swatting, where people would learn, this clan is against that clan, and they find out they find out someone's name, and they find out they're able to figure out their address, and in the middle of the game, someone calls up the local police department and says, "Hey, there's a guy outside my front door with a gun. I'm being held hostage." And, swatting. All of a sudden, the SWAT team rolls up the house, kicks the front door down, puts everybody at gunpoint. And the person on the other end is, ha, 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 that's so funny. And, when people are pointing guns, it's never a funny thing.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
And so, that's one of those things is, even as adults, we have to be careful about what information we make available. And that's probably even, in some sense, harder when you're working as a team, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, because it does become an issue, because again, when you've got these communities and you've got these people that it's just mixing personalities, mixing stereotypes, mixing ideals, morals, political affiliations, all of that kind of stuff all comes together, and you don't see that through a profile name. You don't see that through your gamer tag. Yeah. And it is, swatting is an issue that still comes up. It's still a big issue. There was a big rash of it over the summer, when COVID hit, people were doing it because they're bored, as what one kid excuse. Why did you swat that person? Oh, I was bored. Oh. It was fun. Okay. But then there are that are extremely competitive. And if they feel like they're getting beat, they'll do that. And what we've also seen a lot is, if you're a streamer, one, God bless you, because I've tried to, and it's too hard, but if you're on there playing your video game and you're streaming it and you've got a live audience and they know exactly what you're doing, it's amazing what they can piece together through social engineering, or just who they want. But they'll do raids on your channel where people will just literally attack your channel and fill it with obscenities, and stuff like that. So you have to be willing and ready at a moment's notice to be able to turn that kind of stuff off and to kind of step away. But I think as we get older, we kind of feel like we're smarter. Like, that can't happen to me. But you never know when you're going to make a mistake. Like the other night I was playing and I accidentally friended somebody. I was like, oh, crud, I don't know who this person is. I don't know anything about them. I don't want them to be my friend. So I had to quickly go in and unfriend them. And then I don't know this person, but I had to block them.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are, but it's better to be safe than sorry when it comes to it. And sure, I may be a little bit extreme, on that kind of stuff. But I was the guy back in the day that when Foursquare first came out, I checked into everything. I was the what was it, the king or
yes.
I was the king of like the local Starbucks near my house and all these other places as it went. It was a rite of passage. Well, the same thing is with gaming. People are proud of their accomplishments and they want to share them and everything like that. But you got to be careful with what you share. It's great to live behind the persona and stuff like that, but we're not all a bunch of ninjas that have $1 million that can help protect us and everything like that. But even him, I think his Twitter got hacked, about a year ago or so, whatever, and it's important to notice that, If you have a gamer tag, you're probably on social media with that gamer tag and somewhere else as well.
Yeah.
People are searching it. It's easy to go in and Google, hey, what's your gamer tag? And find out everything about your gamer tag. And there's going to be people that want to hack it. Now, they may not want to hack it because they want to get to you, but they want to be able to use you as a launch point for something else.
Yeah.
We always use that saying like, oh, people don't want to hack me. No one cares about my information. You're right. They probably don't care about your information, but they care about what your system will get them to the next step.
Yeah. I mean, it's when we saw that, was it this past summer it was a little bit different, but, with all the Twitter accounts that got hacked, it wasn't that anyone was doing anything with the details from that account, but it was, hey, I'm going to double your cryptocurrency if you send it to this address. Woohoo!
Exactly.
And a whopping, a couple $100,000 was sent because people fell for it because they thought Bill Gates was going to double their crypto.
Yep. And I've got friends that have been black hats that have converted to white hats. And they flat out told me, look, when I was a black hat, you're right. I could care less about your measly bank account. I could care less about what you're doing, what's on your hard drive, any of that kind of fun stuff. I could care less. What you were is just a node for me. And, you were just a point on the internet that I could launch another attack from, and they couldn't trace it back to me. It's the same thing with our systems. It's like your Internet of Things person said, you got to make sure you keep these things up to date. And it's amazing, a lot of consoles have done really good where they won't let you go online and play the online stuff unless you've got the latest version of the game and the latest version of the OS, which I think is wonderful. I wish we could see that in more areas because it really does help out on those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean that conversation with Amanda was crazy just to think about all the devices that are connected. They're all pushing little bits of information. They're all an entry point into your network for somebody else. And I kind of think of that with games is like those are another. We don't think about it that way, but if you're in the process of playing a game, you've got data coming in. You're broadcasting what's going on. While you hope the game is secure, it is. There's always a risk in those things.
Well, you got to think about it too. I mean, gaming is a way of socialization, and we can learn a lot about a person by the games that they play, how they play those games. I could sit there and play with somebody, and I know, is this person someone that is competitive or not competitive? Are they a jerk or are they not a jerk? Do they prefer first-person shooters versus adventure games or whatever? I mean, you can go out there, and if your profile's set up for it, I can go in and I can see every game that's in your library. I can see your trophies. So what games do you really like? So I can friend you and be like, I've never played Halo, as it would be. And I can see that you've been playing the new Halo Infinite for the past 6 hours straight. Well, I can friend you, send you a message and be like, dude, what do you think of Halo Infinite? Isn't it amazing? Oh, my gosh. Well, yeah, I know you're a fan because you got every Halo game and you've got almost all the trophies across the board. Right then and there, I create that relationship.
Yep.
And again, I think we as a society, because we are so kind of stuck on our screens a little bit, we've kind of lost that idea of having that connection and that relationship. So whenever someone does show interest in us, we kind of grasp onto it a little bit more, whether we're doing it consciously or not.
Yeah, and I've even heard of like kind of the social engineering happening through words with friends. Innocuous. You're like, oh, I'm just playing, Scrabble with somebody online, and I think because of that, there's a certain amount of the guard is down, and once you've played that person a number of times, even though you've never met them and you've never done anything other than play Scrabble, there's that you're letting the guard down, and while you're playing, oh yeah, it's raining. Oh, where it's raining. Oh, oh hey, I've been there. Is that near this? Is that near that? And all of a sudden, you're starting to give away personal information.
Yeah, and it always starts off innocent, I mean, and you think about it, no free game is actually free. Yep. I mean, we don't have to worry about just the nefarious people we're playing with, but I mean, what are you getting for that free Candy Crush game? You're sending them information, you're sending them bits, they're seeing other things as it would be. Well, people are the same way. They're trying to gather that information and everything. My family has a rich military history. And part of that military history includes working in the intelligence community, and it's amazing how people will look at certain family members in my family and be like, they're an extremist. They're crazy because they won't they pay everything in cash or they only use checks or whatever. Well, it's because they've seen how that information can be used. They've gone through because they've been the person that has been on the other side of the fence trying to make that connection in order to get you to give up information and everything. And we do it without even thinking. Again, you can take this podcast right here, go back and just listen to the information that I've given. And so far you would know my name, which is obvious. Where I live pretty well. There's a lot of information that I've given just on this podcast. That's a risk I take, and that's an information that I'm putting out there. I mean, granted, I own a home, public record. I'm sure you can find it anyways, as it would be. But still, that's how simple it is for us to give up that information, even on these very casual games.
Yeah. And especially for kids who are not, the younger you are, the less developed the brain, the less you're thinking about, well, why would someone be asking this question? What am I really giving up with this question? And, and kids are just like, hey, I just want to connect with it. Kids are awesome. I just want to connect with anybody. I don't care who you are. I'll be your friend.
It is. And it's sad. It's really sad that our kids that they have to kind of lose a little bit of that innocence, as it would be, and have to not have that trust. I mean, they trust first. And I think we as adults, as we've grown up, have learned to trust second. Yeah. Some people trust third, fourth, and fifth, as it would be. But unfortunately, with technology and with everything else, you kind of have to on a level. You have to put up that protection because the systems out there aren't made to really 100% protect you. They don't have your best interest at heart, unfortunately.
Yeah. The game's first concern is not your personal safety.
Not at all. They want you to buy more rubies or whatever in-game currency it is. They want you to spend 6 hours in your basement playing it. They want you to engage with friends. That's why they make it so easy. Yeah. Because if you find people that you play with, you're more apt to. I look forward to my gaming sessions with my friends because I know it's going to happen. Same thing. They're banking on it. They're like, yep, Eric's going to log in about 30 minutes from now,
Yeah, and the more community a person builds, the more likely they're going to stay in that platform.
Yep, most definitely. I mean, we become fanboys. I mean, without a doubt. I'm a PlayStation fanboy. That's who I am. I've had an Xbox. I've played on it. I just prefer the games on the PlayStation, and I have friends that are diehard Xbox fans. I bought a friend a PlayStation just so he'd play with me, and he still plays on his Xbox more. When you get in that community and you develop that world, it's really, really hard to break away from it.
It's the PC versus Mac, just on a different platform.
Well, we don't even need to talk about that. We know Macs are the winner.
I agree. Now we've both tipped hands saying that we use Macs.
We did.
What are we doing? We're just like giving away everything here.
I tell you.
I'm trying to think of are there things that we should be doing to, I think we talked a little bit about it, but to avoid conflict in games. Obviously, I think avoiding religion and politics, kind of like your Thanksgiving rules apply to gaming rules. No religion, no politics.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, again, if you play with your friends, if you play with people that you know what your boundaries are. Yeah. It's really easy. If you're playing with people you don't know, just assume that the boundaries are really high. Be careful with what you say. Yeah. Be extremely kind. I think that's what we're missing in a lot of gamers, as it would be, is that a lot of people get out there and they get so competitive and they want it so badly that they will. I mean, we love to talk smack, but we can take that to too far of a level. So you got to be careful. You got to remember that there's a human being on the other side of that voice, or there's a human being on the other side of that chat message. And we lose that a lot, I mean, especially in this COVID world where all of us are communicating through Zoom and Team and Skype and everything like that. It kind of dehumanizes us a bit. Yeah. Because it's just words. But when we put up a picture, then we kind of get to know who they are. So just reminding yourself that there's someone who's got heart and soul and feelings on the other side of that. So treat them how you'd want to be treated. If you want to be treated like a jerk, then by all means, be a jerk to them. Because I guarantee you they'll be a jerk right back to you.
They will amplify it back to you.
They will. And that's the thing is I mean, just like social media, it's easy to take something small and blow it up into something big in such record time
Yeah.
as it would be and everything. And that's what leads to some of these swatting cases that we talked about earlier. What leads to someone trying to figure out what your IP address is and doing a denial of service on your home, and that kind of stuff, or taking your gamer tag and smearing it through the mud all across the internet and signing you up for all kinds of other stuff. I mean, that's what people don't realize is that when someone's got a vendetta against you, they will go to extremes to let it be known that you wronged them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. For the online gaming, are DDoSs really an issue these days, or is it not so much anymore?
It's not so much anymore on a personal level because, again, most of us are connecting to a central server, and it's that central server that's handling all the traffic, handling all the bits. So it's rare that I'm connecting to another person. It's not like back in the day when we had LAN parties, and everybody would run off my machine. Now, there are games that still run a little bit like that. Minecraft still has some semblance of that where it runs off of, a direct connection here and there, or through a central server with more data going back and forth. So that is still there. But again, it's all through that centralized system, that centralized server. You got to log in. So we pretty much know who everybody is. So again, if you're on a PlayStation or Xbox, it's really easy to get someone banned. We've seen a lot of the PC gaming companies, much to the chagrin of the PC gamers, coming out with anti-cheat software that'll ban you in a heartbeat and that'll catch you cheating, or they'll figure out that you're not being nice, or whatever the wording that you want to use is, and you get reported too many times and you get kicked and banned and stuff like that. So that world is its own fascinating world of just trying to keep ahead. And just like the hackers out there, we're always behind. We'll never know it. I saw a really cool video on YouTube the other day where a guy that plays, I can't remember what the game was, but one of those big multiplayer games online, this guy had cheats out the wazoo on his system, and he used them like crazy. Things like instant aim, where as soon as a target came into his frame, his cursor would automatically go to it, and he wouldn't have to do anything except hit the fire button. So he was getting kills and stuff like that. Well, the game didn't catch up on that. He logged in one day this week, and all of his accounts were shut down. Even ones that he hadn't used yet. The system had learned and caught up with it. I think with AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning, the computer learning to teach the computer is going to get to the point where we're going to be able to get ahead of a lot of that. And I'm kind of excited for it. I kind of embrace it, especially for the younger kids, because, like on Roblox, you say a bad word, it'll hash out your word. It'll hash it out for you. Even if you don't think it's a bad word, Roblox may have hashed it out anyways. And my kids are always like, Dad, I typed this in. Why did they block it? I don't know. It came close to something, as it would be. But usernames and gamer tags still up for the air. Anybody can put in something in there. And we see that all the time on things like Among Us is a common one. So Among Us has done really good. And younger kids, they don't allow them to type anymore. They actually have to go through a scroll wheel and select words. So you can say like select red is sus, suspicious, or this word means that they're in this thing, and they select the words and it reads it out to them as it would be. But they still can choose their own gamer tags. So they'll put gamer tags that aren't appropriate. And I've looked at a few of these gamer tags and I knew what they meant. Luckily, my 9-year-old daughter had no idea, and I didn't really know that was going on until one day I'm literally there talking to my wife, and all of a sudden my little daughter is yelling, "Stop it, stop it, so-and-so." And it's a name of a male body part, stop so-and-so, stop so-and-so, stop so-and-so. And she didn't know that it was bad, and I was like, oh my goodness, like now we got to figure out how do we block that? How do we stop that? How do we control that as it would be and everything? But yeah, I mean, again, I think it's funny. I get parents all the time asking me on All Knowing Parent, like, hey, how do I keep my kid from A? How do I keep my kid from B? Sadly, the answer is if the kid really wants it, they're going to get it. You can do a lot to put things into play. You're going to make it a little bit harder for them, but they're still going to find ways around it because they're more motivated than you are.
And they've got 45 friends who all know how to get around mom and dad, but mom and dad aren't talking to the other 45 parents saying, how are you keeping your kids from doing this?
Exactly.
So I think that's a good time. So refresh us. What is All-Knowing Parent, and what kind of information do you have there?
So All-Knowing Parent is a new idea that actually got birthed from, believe it or not, Marco Polo. Marco Polo is Marco Polo is a phone app that allows you to send video messages back and forth. My wife is on it with a bunch of her friends from college, and they just kept asking me questions. Hey, I heard these things called blue blocker glasses. Could I get a pair of those? Should I get a pair of those? What are they good for? How do I keep so-and-so's Instagram secure? What's TikTok? What do I need to do about TikTok? How do I set up my router? I want to run cabling through my house. All these questions. And I kept getting on there and recording video answers and giving them to them. And finally, somebody said, you know what, Eric, I'd pay you for this. So I said, well, that's a great idea.
I like that.
Not? We're always making fun of everybody's got that one family IT support guy. That one person they can go to. Exactly. You're that guy. I'm that guy. Or that girl, as it would be. And I'm just trying to provide a service that allows for that. So it's a subscription-based service. Plans start out at $5. And right now it's very basic. It's email basic support. But there's plans in the future to offer video support, video consultations. If you're in my local area, or as we grow into a local area, maybe even on-site type stuff and everything like that. But we're just getting started. So really the sky's the limit. But my goal is just to educate people so that they can feel empowered with the technology in their home, and then they can re-engage with their family. Think of me like the research guy you never had. Like, anybody can, yes, Google for the answer, but how do you know which answer is right?
Yes.
How do you know what answer is good? I can't tell you how many articles I've read where they don't actually give you the answer. Which is crazy.
That is my pet peeve of you. You think it's going to be a great article on how to do something, like, this doesn't say actually how to do it. Like, what's the point of the article?
Or they tell you about all this great stuff and never provide a link to that great stuff and things like that. Or they provide a link to another one of their articles and other things. So that's really what we do a lot, is we do a lot of research for people. So, questions like, hey, what's a good monitor for my kid for gaming? What's a good TV? I want to have a great TV for Super Bowl Sunday coming up and everything. So product comparisons is another thing that we do, as it would be. So just anything from a technical concierge type of way, that's really what we're here to help you out with. We don't have all the answers, but we do have all the time to find those answers.
I like that. All the time to find the answers. Please tell me you don't respond with, let me Google that for you.
I do not. Here's a great example. I will actually give you an example of one of the questions that recently came across. So recently I had one of our customers reach out and say, hey, should I let my 10-year-old boy play this new game called Cuphead? He knew nothing about it other than it was a Nintendo Switch game, and he knew what it was rated. So we did the research on the game, gave him a nice write-up about what the game was about, told him kind of like, yeah, it's got some violence in it. It's a side scroller. It's two-dimensional. Gave him a link to a couple live videos. I mean, not live videos, but videos of people playing it. So he could actually see actual gameplay that were going on. And then we gave him some examples of other games that he may or may not have in his kid's library. And that was huge for them. Because now you could say, oh, well, I actually own this game and this game. They're rated the same. They have the same level of violence as it would be on it. So, yeah, I feel comfortable letting my kid play with that. That's perfect. That's exactly what we need. So that's kind of what we do. It's never there are no cookie cutter answers for anybody. Yeah. We take the time to always say, well, what is it? What do you need? How can we dig more into it? I think a lot of that comes from my job as a consultant now. I would love solving problems. So I want to get more information from you to make sure that I give you the best answer.
That is awesome. So if people want to find you on social media, do you have social media channels for everything?
We do. They're pretty thin right now, but we're working on getting that better. You can find us out on Twitter and Instagram, where AKP Social is our call sign. You can find us on the web at allknowingparent.com. If you go to allknowingparent.com/easypray, we got a special lander where we're offering some discounts for your listeners. We'll be running those through the end of the year. And, again, we're a small startup. We're just getting started. So ask us a question, challenge us. We're ready to help you.
That is awesome. We'll make sure to include all of those in the show notes so people can find them without difficulty. And thank you so much for coming on the Easy Pray podcast today, Eric.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me, man. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Easy Prey podcast. Notes and a transcript of this episode with Eric Jones can be found at easyprey.com/93.